So right now there is a fight for the truth and who controls the truth. And this is also connected to AI, money, and many of the things that you see happening in the world today. This is Elon Musk, right? He's fighting for control of the truth, basically, the money and the AI. And he says, okay. He's got this story here, Matt Whitlock, wild shot / chaser, right? Two different versions of the same story, liberal. ICE broke down a door and detained a U.S. citizen, DHS. The citizen lives with is harboring 2 convicted sex offenders. Now, immediately, people are going to choose sides and you're triggered by certain kinds of words. And I just want to point out how you get manipulated. So here in this situation, you could change any of these words. So instead of liberal, you could write U.S. citizen. That changes the way that people respond to things, like U.S. citizen's version versus the government's version. That would be another way of writing DHS. Or you could write ICE instead of DHS. Or you could write Asian, right? And some people say, just for example, because it's a Hmong person or Asian person, some people are like, oh my God, it's Asian. I totally don't believe it. Or oh my God, it's Asian. I totally believe it, right? So the word choices of the story deeply affect how people take in what is true or not true. And then these people will automatically then, Elon Musk group, will pick certain words that trigger people certain ways. My point with going over this stuff is for you to understand how you get manipulated and how this is a fight, again, over the money, the AI, control, and the truth. McDermott says yesterday Reuters captured ICE breaking down a door and dragging a man out half naked into the freezing cold in St. Paul. According to his sister-in-law, they returned him after realizing he's a naturalized U.S. citizen with no criminal record. Okay? That's what Matt says. Tricia McLaughlin is going to come out and say, these are all, conducted target operation. They're all convicted sex offenders. There's 2 of them, in fact, blah, blah, blah. And, and if you want to read through the whole thing, you can, okay? But with either of these things, there's going to be some sort of truth here, right? And I hope we all agree we should pursue the truth. I think that's a pretty fair thing to say. Then you get independent reporting, right? So this is from The Guardian, Reuters, Associated Press, multiple outlets will have this. It says, U.S. citizen says ICE forced him from his home without clothes in the sub-freezing weather.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mark Ruley, Police Chief of City of Brooklyn Park. Behind me is a bunch of amazing police chiefs that are here in support of a very short but very important message that we want to share with you. What you won't hear from any of us today is rhetoric of abolish ICE or that there shouldn't be immigration enforcement. The truth is, immigration enforcement is necessary for our national security and for local security. But how it's done is extremely important.
So first in the discussion, which I think is a fair thing to say, we're not necessarily out to abolish ICE. We do need to have some sort of immigration control for our security, which I'm on board with that. But it all depends how you're going to do said things. And I have said several times, due process matters, the truth matters, facts matter, these kind of things.
In fact, we have a long history of working exceptionally well with our federal partners, including ICE agents. And we have seen the best of them perform their job extremely well in the past. With that said, recently, as the last 2 weeks, we, as law enforcement community, have been receiving endless complaints about civil rights violations in our streets from U.S. citizens. What we're hearing is they're being stopped in traffic stops or on the street with no cause and being forced to demand paperwork to determine if they are here legally. As this went on over the past 2 weeks, we started hearing from our police officers the same complaints as they fell victim to this while off duty.
First, they're getting endless calls from local people and he's saying U.S. citizens are basically being stopped, right? And then he's like, now we're getting off-duty cops who are saying the same thing. And a lot of this comes down to credibility, right? If someone has a history of lying, what do you call that person, right? Elon Musk, well, that's one, but but if someone has a history of telling the truth, what do you call that person, right? So basically, this is an issue with credibility and also an issue with, as just a regular person, I'm regular just like you in terms of like, hey, I'm not actually physically there. And so, I'll search stuff. Okay, what is the truth? I want someone to tell me the truth. And then some outlets are going to be more credible and more honest than others. But we live in a world right now where Elon Musk and his buddies are trying to take over all outlets, not just some, all of these, and then funnel all the money and all of the attention to certain kinds of things, right? And then they trigger you in certain ways, and you get emotional reactions, and so you ignore the truth.
Every one of these individuals is a person of color who has had this happen to them. In Brooklyn Park, one particular officer that shared her story with me was stopped as she passed ICE going down the roadway. When they boxed her in, they demanded her paperwork, of which she's a U.S. citizen and clearly would not have any paperwork. When she became concerned about the rhetoric and the way she was being treated, she pulled out her phone. In an attempt to record the incident, the phone was knocked out of her hands, prevented her from recording it. The officer had their guns drawn during this interaction.
And that's really dangerous, right? So you're trying to get your phone out to record what's going on, make sure there's a record. And then it sounds like, and then when he says officers, I think he's referring to the ICE officers have their guns drawn. And if you're, in that situation and you know what ICE has been doing, like you're fearing for your life at this point. And this is a off-duty officer.
And after the officer became so concerned, they were forced to identify themselves as a Brooklyn Park police officer in hopes of slowing the incident and de-escalating the incident down. The agents then immediately left after hearing this, making no other comments, no other apologies, just got in their vehicles and left. I wish I could tell you that this was an isolated incident. In fact, many of the chiefs standing behind me have similar incidents with their off-duty officers. This isn't just important because it happened to off-duty police officers, but what it did do is we know that our officers know what the Constitution is, they know what right and wrong is, and they know when people are being targeted, and that's what they were. If it is happening to our officers, it pains me to think of how many of our community members are falling victim to this every day. It has to stop.
It has to stop. Okay. So now let me show you the intersection of AI. Why does this matter? Because you're going to hear, okay, that's what the officer said right there. The next logical step is what's true. I mean, I would do that. You would do that, right? Because you're, okay, what's true? What's going on with the rest? And then look at what Elon Musk writes today. Don't let your loved ones use ChatGPT. That's coming from Elon Musk. So this is a battle right now of which platform you're going to use and which platform is going to get your money, basically. This is all about money and also control of the truth, because here's another example. Because any of these situations, you're going to ask, many people ask Google, ask your whatever AI chatbot, you want to know the truth. Katie Miller writes, this is Stephen Miller's wife. She says, ChatGPT is dangerously woke. An AI that wrongly judges an outcome is a threat to the future of the nation and the world. XAI is the only truth-seeking AI. You see what's going on here, right? They're fighting over who controls the truth. Okay, so what was the question then? This is the ChatGPT. What do you think? What exactly happened and who is responsible for the shooting between ICE and the woman in Minnesota and why? What is your opinion? Keep it short. And this would be the Renee Good killing, right? ChatGPT then responds, based on available video and reporting, ICE agents escalated a chaotic stop, gave conflicting commands, and fired as the woman tried to leave. The shooting responsibility lies with the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agent who pulled the trigger. Now, I'm pretty sure you understand the issue here is what if Elon Musk gained control over, ChatGPT or gained control of the search engine, or what if all of the information that is fed into like ChatGPT or whatever agent that you use all comes from Elon Musk's platform X? Do you guys see what's going on here? That's why they're saying, oh, well, ChatGPT is woke. I hate ChatGPT. Or Elon Musk, oh, don't use ChatGPT. And I'm not telling you to use ChatGPT or not use ChatGPT. There's lots of ways you can get information. But what I am telling you most importantly is understand that whoever controls the truth, these platforms, right, the money, has serious power over people's reality.
I'm going through this because I think we have plenty of time. I'm going to beautiful place in Switzerland where we'll be, I'm sure I'm very happily awaited for.
Right, and hold up pictures of people, Minnesota, this is the worst of the worst and stuff like that. And for all of these things, guys, I'll just tell you the truth. There will be some facts involved with this stuff, right? If someone has a history of saying this is a criminal record of someone, they produce the evidence, stuff like that, that person's dependable. If a person has a history of lying about individuals, oh, they're eating cats and dogs or whatever, that person's not dependable. And to me, this stuff is obvious. And when you look at the Trump people, this is the way that they talk. Have a listen.
We're seeing this over and over again. These news outlets are making these analyses that are not grounded in facts at all. The reality of the data is that 70% of those illegal aliens that the Trump...
They tell you that 70% of all these quote illegal aliens are bad, etc. And you can see it for yourself. There's Tristan McLaughlin. And I'll just say this. Isn't it obvious, though, when you watch Fox News, who the Trump people pick, like, why are you picking people that all look the same? I mean, this is just objectively. I mean, you could just see it with your own eyes, right? And I just see it for yourself. And then you become this, like, if you can figure it out, you're like, oh, okay, I'm not picking people, based on qualifications or truthfulness or credibility. I guess I'm just picking people these days that are loyal to Trump and have a certain kind of look that Trump likes. That's Fox News right now. Or these people will go on TV. This is the known person. Have a listen to this and how they talk about these issues.
But you just said millions. What's the breakdown of the percentage of those who you have in custody who have actually committed a criminal offense versus just the civil infraction?
Every single individual has committed a crime, but 70% of them have committed or have charges against them on violent crimes and crimes that they are charged with or have been convicted of that have come from other countries that are here illegally, first of all, and then they have committed a criminal act while they've been here or in their home countries as well.
It's not 70%.
Yes, it is. It absolutely is.
70% of everyone
you guys keep changing your percentage. You pick and choose what numbers you think.
You get the idea. Then there's a fight, and the point is with this stuff is that there's going to be truth somewhere here, right? And if someone has a history of lying and know them and their people, and it should be obvious that these people are liars. I just be frank with you guys. But this is something I always want to have an honest conversation with you guys about, because I think any reasonable person out there should want the truth. But unfortunately, we live in a world these days where people get really emotional. They have to join whatever side. And even, for example, if I tell you that, some of the YouTube channels you watch that are more left-leaning, that aren't really truthful, use a bunch of AI-generated content, they are out there. They'll play you AI videos, show you AI photos, basically just tell you lies. If I tell you that, and it's someone, say, on your team, because you think, oh, I'm on the left team, you get really upset. But in my point of view, this isn't really a left-right issue. I don't like to talk about this stuff. I just mention it because a lot of people try to make it that way. This is a top-bottom issue to where people like Elon Musk, Donald Trump, all the Elon's, buddies, they want to control these big tech companies that then determine the truth for you. And when you try to search out the truth, they can control the story and the narrative. So be very, very careful of the stuff that you watch, and be careful of people who elicit, too many emotions and things like that, and just aren't honest with you about this stuff. And there's a lot of people out there like that. And it's frustrating to me, as I think normal people want the truth. I hope so, at least. Who knows? This is from the Cato Institute, if you're curious. They say only 5% of individuals booked into the ICE detention had a violent criminal conviction, and it goes through a bunch of different data on that. Also, this is actually an interesting one. This person writes, found this video and had to share. In China, AI-generated live streams are selling products using synthetic video and voice. So this isn't necessarily just about China, but this video I thought was really fascinating because basically it depicts a room filled with basically AI avatars selling you products. And I think that this kind of AI-generated world, and I told you guys, I'm just being honest with you guys, there are left-wing channels out there that just basically put out fake images. They're like, oh, look at who this person having an affair. Oh, look at this person doing this kind of thing, right? And if people are routinely just literally making crap up, the same way that, say, in this video, using fake people to sell you whatever products, or in this situation, I think they're selling a lot of crypto and whatever nonsense, be very, very leery, because unfortunately, I think that is our future at the moment. And people like Elon Musk are fighting over who can make out the most, AI avatars to tell you the most lies and control the narrative. And the very language they use is always used to incite, inflame you, get you thinking with emotions and not facts. But we should at least acknowledge that, let's get our facts together here, and you can have a different opinion, but I'm not going to just make up random stuff. But unfortunately, there are people out there that will do that, just make up random crap, and they use AI to do that, and it's becoming more and more widespread, which is really sick. And I just want to be really clear on that. And Elon Musk then wants to spread that kind of stuff out there. So it's scary times, in my opinion. And I try and do my best with you guys, and I do appreciate your time, especially if you enjoy talking about and understand the need for truth in this world. So that's my thoughts on this. I want to hear yours, and I'll catch you on the next video.